Hi, my name is Zach, and this is my horse Walter. He's for sale on a website called thehorsebay.com. I've had Walter for a long time, and I've tried to teach him just about everything about the world that I can think of, and here's some of the things I've been working with him on. I have a list that I sometimes keep in my pocket of things that I think most people would like the horse to already know, or at least already experienced, before they feel like they're buying a finished horse. Like, for example, tarps and raincoats are on my list, and from my experience, tarps and raincoats are a thing that a lot of horses are afraid of. Before I buy a horse, I kind of like to know what a horse thinks of a tarp or raincoat. I don't think most horses stay afraid of tarps forever, but I wouldn't mind knowing how a horse reacts to one before I was ready to buy. Or whether it's scared of water or cows or will cross a ditch, and things like that. So that's why I made a list, and I'm going to post it on my auction page on thehorsebay.com. It's a list of all the basic things that I think most any finished horse ought to know. And I made sure Walter had a good deal of experience with everything on the list, and then plus some. If you could think of anything I missed, let me know. I got a lot of free time on my hands, so I taught Walter some of the extras, but he's been through the basics as well. Over time, I've heard a lot of stories from people who go on trail rides, and then it suddenly starts storming, and they get their rain gear out for probably the first time, and then the next thing you know, someone ends up in the hospital. I remember one person in particular that told me getting his raincoat out was the last thing he remembered. To me, horse riding is about the most fun and rewarding thing you could do in this world, but all that goes out the window when somebody gets hurt. That's what I was talking about in the beginning of my video when I said I've been preparing Walter for anything the world has to throw at him. I consider getting horses ready for the real world my occupation, and I try to do it as proudly and as thoroughly as I can. I suppose this is my easy to catch scene that I have on my list. Walter's the kind of horse that's the first one to leave the herd and come over to me to be caught. A lot of that is something you can't train in a horse. He's a very curious little guy, and smart too. He makes me think of a quote from Einstein when he said, "I don't have any special talents, I'm just passionately curious." I guess that's how he got so smart. That's how Walter is too. He's curious and has no fears and loves to learn. Almost named him Einstein, but Walter was a name already given to him, so I stuck with that. One thing that might be more important than tarps is a good whoa, and we're pretty good at it. It's pretty much Walter's favorite trick. This here's with no bridle or rope around his neck or anything. He just feels my body wanting to whoa. Same with backing up and turning also. Also same with laying down. I just tap his knee with my foot and say lay. I can make him lay just about anywhere. I can even lay him down in the middle of war. This is my ready for ISIS scene in case ISIS ever comes to Missouri. I think we're about ready for him. Move him just a little slow. I've actually never done this before, and wanted to point out that Walter's got a little kind of a pressure point there above his eye and below his ear there, where I can just hold that down and he can't get up if I hold his head down. He likes to sit up. Walter's registered name is Grand Larceny. He's out of a stallion named Grand Central, which is one of the best Missouri Foxtrotter stallions, if not the best Missouri Foxtrotter stallion I've ever seen. He was crowned the 2010 World Grand Champion, and I'm pretty sure he never lost a show. Walter's never been shown, but he's definitely bred for it, in case you had the desire to. Another thing on my list is cliffs, ditches, drop-offs, and inclines. That's pretty important for a trail horse. I guess I should have specified earlier I'm in a finished trail horse, not a finished barrel horse or race horse or anything like that. I'm just looking for a finished trail horse. And I think these are the things that are important. It's funny how horses will be scared of drop-offs like this at first, and then they seem to enjoy it after about the third time of going down. Kind of reminds me of once when my nephew was scared to ride a ride at Six Flags till we finally talked him into it, and then he wanted to ride it the rest of the day. Walter, he's kind of like a 4-year-old child with a 1,000-pound body that can't talk. This was the first time I'd ever had Walter over here on these drop-offs, and there was a sharp rock there in the way, so I wanted to get out of the way. Plus, this was a little bit steeper for my comfort zone, so I wanted to lead him down it first. I'm trying to think of what clip to show next. I've got so many of them. I guess I'll hit a little bit on the sound of whips and guns. That's on my list that I did a little bit earlier. Here's the sound of whips that he's used to, and this also kind of ties into my ride in a group and ride alone category on my list. If you can't practice the real thing, I think this is one of the best exercises for getting a horse used to being rode in a group, and that's chasing other horses. I do it a lot with the horses I ride. I do it so much I don't even want to look at other horses running, let alone run just because other horses are. Of course, I put them in the real situation too, just like I am here on a real trail ride. I talk to a lot of horse buyers, and this is why this is on my list. A lot of people, and I know myself included, have been on that horse that has to be in the front, and the other horses take off, and you might as well just get off and walk the horse back to the truck or the house. My horses aren't for sale until they can do this kind of thing right here. Another thing I know that's gotten a lot of people hurt, myself included in this one too, is a rope under the tail, and also a horse not being used to a backgirth. It's been a long time since I fell off a horse, but the last time it happened, it was because I was leading another horse, and the horse's lead rope got under the tail of the horse that I was riding, and luckily I'm half rodeo clown, or else I might have gotten hurt pretty seriously. I wish I'd landed on my feet, but since I didn't, I vowed never to lead or pony another horse unless the one I'm riding has gotten used to a rope being under its tail first. Good enough scene right there. I've also heard a lot of stories of people buying a horse and putting a back girth on it for the first time, and that's another thing I always get my horses used to, is a back girth. Well, this is back in the summer. I told you I had Walter a long time. Here I'm trying to demonstrate or set up the same scenario about getting a rope under his tail just to make sure he wouldn't panic like it happened to me once before. Not on Walter, but this was years ago when it happened to me. This is just me trying to prove that Walter's good to go in this department. Speaking of ponying, I'm not sure if that's something I have on my list of basics or not, but maybe it should be. But Walter's been on both ends. He's ponied and he's been ponied, and here he is being ponied along beside another horse with no bridle or no halter or anything. He loves to show off. This isn't something I practice a lot, but I've done this with him a few times, and he also has a good backup while I do this. I just forgot to do it while the camera was on. Speaking of backups, I can show you more of that while I'm showing you this. I have a hard time getting him to come off of there. This isn't something I practice either, but here I am asking him to lay down. Well, this is my saddling and bridling scene. I need my horses to be easy to bridle and saddle and easy to get on. You can see from this video that Walter looks forward to it. I'll fast forward this just so my video is not 16 hours long, and I'll show you some more backing. I've always been told you can never do enough backing. I take the bridle off 2 or 3 times here, and every time he puts it back in his mouth on his own without me having to put my finger in his mouth. To me, the sit's a form of backing. Here I am in a real scenario, bridling him, getting ready to go on to town. Notice how easily he takes the bit. And then here's my mounting or easy to get on scene. Something extra I taught Walter is to move over for making mounting easier. My favorite way to teach this is to take advantage of the fact that when I pick up on the right rein and pull his head to the right, Mother Nature just tends to make his hip want to go left. So I just take advantage of that and release the pressure when his hip goes the direction I want it to. Actually, I have several ways to make him get in place for me to get on. I've done it so much, it's usually just automatic now. And this is my ride through gait and side pass leg cues. Just because a horse can side pass doesn't necessarily mean he's going to be good for riding through a gate. Maybe a gate like this one, but in the real situation, it's sometimes a different story on a gate that's like this one coming up here that doesn't even swing. There's a lot of other factors involved in a real gate. A horse may have a good side pass, but when you lean over to open the latch, a lot of horses will want to move forward and other things. I go through a few gates here with no bridle, and I kind of figure that's the best way I can prove that he's ready for riding through gates. the scene on the bottom right is a little exercise I do. I just back, and then I side pass, and then I back and side pass, and it just, I like doing that exercise to him. The more backing, the better a side pass gets. And here, I know a lot of people want to make sure a horse can back out of a trailer, so this is my back out of a trailer scene here. This is just practice here on the porch, and I'll do it in a real trailer too here in a second. Of course, he loads good also. Another thing I didn't show in here, I just realized, is hobbles. I get all my horses used to hobbles. He's been hobbled all night long a time or two. And he's been tied up all night long a time or two also, on a few camping trips. Earlier I had this scene here where I was dragging this kayak, and this is my cow scene, believe it or not. I'm not really a cowboy, really just kind of a horse boy, and I think Walter might be more of a cow horse than I am a cowboy. I don't ride him around cows a lot, but he naturally likes to chase them, and he just naturally likes to chase stuff like this. I wish I had one of those mechanical cows or some real cows to practice on. He'd be good at it. Well, this is the 4th of July parade. This sort of covers traffic and ridden in a group both. He did really well in the parade, and my daughter rode him and threw beads to everybody, and we had a good time. Now here's an example of the kind of horse I was talking about that needs to be in the front of the group. I'll show another scene of him here in a second. There he is. That's the kind of horse I'm talking about, where you just can't turn the reins loose. Oh, he's gone now. You can't turn the reins loose on him, and just not fun to ride. And here Walter is just going along real slow with a loose rein. This scene here on the ride is just me playing around with him. If it's too cold to ride or something, you could always just entertain Walter just throwing the frisbee to him. He likes to go get it and bring it back. It's fun to him. And then here on the left, of course, just picking up his feet. Walter's been shod, I don't know, probably three times in his life, and I usually ride him barefoot, but sometimes when I ride him extremely hard for lots of days in a row, I'll put some shoes on him. He's real easy to shoe, and he's good at playing frisbee. A lot of these are just some extra scenes here. I couldn't figure out where to put them. The one on the right here is me riding bridleless around some barrels. Didn't really have a category for it, but I think he's pretty impressive how he goes around barrels with no bridle, so I wanted to show it. The scene on the left here is something I think is important for a horse to be able to move over and put him wherever you want him. If you want him up against the rail, or just get out of your way, they got to have a good button just to push them over. I think that's important. That's why I added that to my list. Really just move away from pressure. He's actually kind of being lazy right here, lazier than he usually is. Probably could have taken a better scene of that. The rest of this, just some extra clips. I wasn't too sure where to put them on some trail rides. Walter's for sale again on the website called thehorsebay.com, and all my contact information is right there, and you can call me and make an appointment and come ride Walter for yourself, and we can answer any questions you have. I really appreciate you watching this video.